Hi, my name is Sasha Small, and I'll be doing my analysis on the gigantic beard that was evil. So, as we know in the book, to set the scene, it's about a man, Dave, who lives in a town called Here. The town is in the middle of nowhere. It's like an island, and on the outskirts is referred to as there. Um, so in the book, I believe the main argument is change is inevitable. Change is necessary. Change can be scary and beneficial at the same time, and sometimes change can come at a cost. So, as we can see in the book, change is inevitable as Dave tries to, once he begins to grow this beard in the middle of the story, he's unable to tame it. He's unable to cut it, get rid of it, meaning this change that's happening to him is inevitable no matter what he could do. Despite he went to the doctor, he went to the barber, nobody could do anything about it. So as we can see in the book, change is inevitable, and this can also be applied to many aspects of our life. um, Change is necessary. So I'll skip ahead a little bit, but by the end of the book we see that more people are leaning into change after the beard incident with Dave. So more people are leaning into being different, wearing their clothes not so perfectly, not having their houses look like everybody else, wearing their hat differently than others. People are leaning into their own individuality and showing that it's okay to be different, and that change is okay. It's change is going to come no matter if we like it or not, and it can be necessary, because in the beginning of the book I feel like we see, it's very cookie cutter town. Everyone has the same routine, and it kind of seems, I mean, I guess you could call it boring. It's just they have the same routine every day. But then by the end of the book, we're seeing different bands and stuff emerge. I believe on one of the flyers we'll see it said something like the Slugs or something for a new band, stuff that wasn't being seen originally in the book, stuff out of the norm for this cookie cutter society. Change can be scary and beneficial at the same time. So as I pick off of what I was saying, despite the change that happened to Dave, as we can see, it was scary for him and the society around him as his beard continued to grow and grow. Um, and without being able to stop it, once the military got in and realized, there was going to be no stopping it, I'm sure it was very scary for him and everyone else. And but come by the end of the book, we can see that this change and this event that had happened to Dave was beneficial to everyone else. Maybe not to Dave as he was sent off, but it was beneficial to society as they are now able to lean into their own individuality, like I was saying, and be different. And that change is inevitable, and to not try to suppress it because it could be forced out and it will manifest in ways that you maybe didn't plan for. And change sometimes can come at a cost. So as we can see by the end of the book, almost as if Dave was sacrificed for the sake of the town. Not that I figured he probably didn't have much of a choice, but we could see that with him being gone, it caused society to kind of flourish after the fact. And like I'm saying, people are in touch with themselves and leaning into the fact that change is okay and that we don't have to be this perfect cookie cutter society. So, what is this text trying to argue? Um, I believe the text is arguing that despite wanting order and perfection, change will prevail. You can't stop it. Some people like their life to be a certain way every day, and that's okay. But no matter what, change will happen, and it will be something that we can't control or prevent from happening. And it's better to just kind of embrace it than try to suppress it, because as we can see in the book, it seems that when it's suppressed, it will all come out at once. Um, Picking off the next one, if change and difference is suppressed by a person or even a society, it can explode and manifest in ways that can affect you and the society. So like I just said, if it's suppressed for too long, it will come out in another way or another end, and it may not be in a positive way that you wanted. Like as we see in the book, um when he meets with Professor Brown or Professor Black, and Professor Black states that when over years and years of basically saying over years and years of perfection, something is bound to change and give. And he claims that it's coming through Dave's pores, and Dave's like, why me? But yeah. And so another argument, in the end, everyone, I feel like the text is also trying to argue that in the end, everyone was happier with things not being so perfect and conforming. I'm kind of covering it here, but yeah, in the end, everyone was happier with things being not so perfect and conforming. They prefer to have their own originality and wearing their shirt the way they please, maybe, and like I was saying before, having their houses in different ways than others, and just not being so, being like a sheep. They want to, it's okay to lead away from the pack and be different than what society is trying to tell you. And yeah, just be different. So some of the evidence I found was when Dave met with Professor Darren Black at his home, and Darren proceeded to tell Dave the story of and the cause of his beard, is he states that anything suppressed must be expressed, and he exactly states it by, it's the law of things, Dave. That which is suppressed must be expressed. And what I took from this is that, like I previously said, anything that you kind of try to hold down will come out. It's like the old saying that anything done in the dark will come to light. So no matter what, if you try to keep things the same, things will change. And then this is some more evidence continued from the book. So as we can see, my house example of how when after the incident, people were leaning into being different. And also, people were voluntarily taking other routes to work than their normal route, and they were doing it out of free will. Same thing with their hairstyles and their clothes and their appearances as well. People were voluntarily I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought, but people were voluntarily changing and doing stuff out of the norm simply because it was preferred after the incident. And I believe Dave made it okay to be different. I believe what the book was trying to say is that it's okay to be different, and Dave made that point. So the main conclusion and takeaways, I do believe the author was effective in presenting their argument in the book. I completely understand what they were saying and where they were coming from. If everything's so perfect and cookie cutter and there's no originality, it will drive you crazy. And I also took there as a place of what society doesn't want us to be in a way. They want us to be here and constructed and in a perfect way, and they want us to live by these rules. They want us to be, this and that. And you could use examples of today's of real time today. They may want you to be this sexuality. They may want you to, lean more into this group and not hang out with these group of peoples. In senses like in a sense like that, I feel like the book is trying to say that don't let society tell you how to be, and don't let them force you to be a certain way, because in the end, change is inevitable, and sometimes it takes a little bit of chaos to, make that change. And that could be also the takeaway. Sometimes it takes chaos to make a change, and change is inevitable, and that it's okay to be different. And I think this argument is good for our culture because, like I was saying, I feel like we live in a day where everybody is so used to trying to fit in and be perfect and be the same way, that this book kind of reminds you that what could happen in a way that if we were all perfect, or if we were all going in one path. So yes, I think this argument would be good for the culture. I do think the author effectively presented their argument, and my main takeaway is that change is necessary and inevitable. Thank you for listening.